We've actually received a question from a parent who is looking for a little bit of support. So they said, I have a 9-year-old trans son. I was very open with my daughter about puberty, but I'm scared to be as open with my son in case it brings on dysphoria. How do I bring up the subject about body changes and periods that unfortunately his body is going to start experiencing with female puberty?
It's a difficult one because I can completely relate with that. Like my mum basically didn't discuss periods with me, nor did my sister. But then what ended up happening was they didn't speak to me, so I felt more excluded, and then I wasn't educated, and then there was just kind of this unspoken silence between us. Just be really honest. Like, this is how your body's going to develop. I know that you might not like it. I get it, but I want you to know these things, and there's nothing wrong with that. And you're still a boy, and that's fine. I think it's just that reassurance of going, this is going to happen. You might not really like that, but that in no way doesn't indicate that you're not a boy. I think that's like the important message, and that's what needs to be the core of however she decides to do that. That's the best way to do it, because I feel like not educating her son on the basis that she doesn't want to cause him to be dysphoric will lead him to just not being educated about his body, and it might cause more shame in the future. Like myself, like not knowing about periods and only educating myself at the age of 24, when I've gone through all of my puberty in terms of like me experiencing periods by that. Reassure here, Instagram accounts of people like myself that are trans and experience periods, you need to build this narrative to him to say that it's okay in what you're experiencing. You are valid as a man. This is just a bodily function that happens to you.
I would definitely advise, again, I always bang on about it, Natalie Burns' book. There are pictures of little boys in there, that are having periods, and it explains everything in a really neutral way. And it talks about like what Kenny's talking about, that actually menstruating doesn't, and the body that does that doesn't define your gender. So I think it's a really useful thing for the mum to have, actually, just to dip in and out of. And I would also suggest, doing drawings of how it feels. We don't see any drawings really of how trans men, trans boys feel about menstruating, and actually they might, I'm a bit of a hippy dippy art therapy type person, but I feel like it might be useful because we don't see that enough, and they may need to be able to draw that for themselves to be able to show those feelings.
I think remembering my own period talk, I came into my bedroom and my mum had been in there when I was at school, just left some pads on the bed next to a couple of pamphlets and was like, any questions? And I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And then we just never discussed it ever again. And I think I wish that my mum had, sat me down and been like, hey, here's the products, here's how you use them, we can experiment, see which ones work for you, and just done it in a way where we could have a laugh and feel like it was just any other conversation, rather than one of those very serious, we need to talk conversations. Hearing those words from your parents, we need to talk. It's like that moment your stomach drops. And I think any way you can avoid that feeling around discussing periods, just being like, hey, do you want to go sit and draw something together? Do you want to spend some time and, just have like a family bonding moment? And then also segue into, so this happens to your body.